Hi, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Let's wait for 2 minutes for everyone to join. Eh, Yesterday, what all things we have seen? Elements in basic terms. Okay.
सर वो की वर्क नहीं कर रही थी।
Which one?
वो क्या नाम है अपने VMware की दी थी ना।
Mm-hmm.
वो काम नहीं कर रही है। व्हाट्सएप पे भेजा भी था। कॉल तो नहीं किया बट बस वो स्नैप भेजा था।
Sahir has shared a new key. Try that one.
ओके सर। सर टूल्स आप प्रोवाइड करोगे ऑटोमेटिकली काली में होते हैं।
काले में ही होता है. वरना we can download it.
ओके।
Okay, let's start. Yesterday we have seen basic terminology and a better of intro related to info security and elements of information security. Okay. So yesterday we have seen that how we can define your attack. So what I can do now, on the basis of the definition, I can classify the attacks also into different categories. So I can divide them into 4 to 5 categories. The first two commons are passive and active. Passive attack means where I'm not making any changes, where I'm not making any direct contact with the target. Okay, I'm simply monitoring what all activities are happening and then trying to gather that info. So best example, real time example, your eavesdropping. Two people talking about something, I'm sitting next to them and listening their conversation. And with respect to your security, we can add sniffing. Sniffing means sitting in the network and monitoring the network traffic and not making any changes. That is passive. If I make the changes, that thing becomes active. Active means when I'm making changes, when I'm tampering the data. So examples, when I'm making a direct contact, DOS attack, your SQL injection attack, that will be your active attack. Then one more category we can add, it will be close-in attack. Close-in attack means I'm doing the attack in a very close proximity. Okay, for example, if I'm attacking your mobile, I'm very next to your mobile phone. Okay, I'm very close to your mobile phone. If I'm attacking your laptop, if I'm attacking a server, I'm very close to that particular server. So performing a attack when you are very close to your target system or your target network, that is close in attack. Now, objective, it depends on the user whether they want to simply gather the info, whether they want to modify the info, whether they want to destroy that info, disrupt that info. It's totally up to the user. So basic definition, performing the attack in a very close physical proximity to your target. So examples, your eavesdropping, because when I'm listening to a conversation between two people, I am very close to them. Okay. And one more attack, this many might have done in their school days or college days, shoulder surfing. Someone who is sitting in front of you during the exam, you are trying to copy his answer, his or her answer. So when you are looking over his shoulder to look at the answer, that thing is called as shoulder surfing. Fourth category can be your insider attacks. When you are doing the attack from within the organization. So for example, if I'm working at an organization and I have a good level of privilege based on my role. So if I try to violate my privilege, if I intentionally try to cause some harm to the organization, that thing becomes insider attack. So for example, let's say I'm a disgruntled employee. Okay, I'm not happy with the environment around my organization. So uh, competition of the organization offered me a good amount of money and they told me that all I need to do is put a pen drive on my laptop. Okay, because my laptop is part of the internal network. So if I plant a malware with the help of that pen drive on my laptop. That is your insider attack. If I try to steal a device, right, that is also a insider attack. So examples, uh, theft or planting any kind of malware, keylogger, etc. That is your insider attack. And last category we can add is your distribution attacks. Distribution attack means when I'm making changes around the hardware or around the software before the installation of that hardware or software, okay, prior to the installation. So for example, if I give you a software and I tell you that this software you need to install on your systems, before giving you the software, what I did at the back end of that software in the code, I have a backdoor entry for myself as a attacker. So whenever you will install the software, that backdoor entry will allow me to get access to your system. So I made changes in the software without prior to your installation. Now that thing can go for your hardware also. You guys asked me that which can be the best Wi-Fi penetration device. Okay, so I suggested you that I have few hardware devices and you can take it from me. So before using that device, I made some changes in the hardware of that device and then I gave it to you. So whenever you will install that thing over your network, I will get access to your network with the help of that particular device. That thing is called as your distribution attack. So here I will write the definition because it is very different from the above attacks. Here what we can do, attackers temper with your hardware or your software prior to installation. That is your distribution attack. That is why building a trust around the source becomes very important. Okay, whatever thing you are purchasing, whatever things you are downloading from the internet, whether the source is legit or not, that thing becomes very, very important to stop these kind of attack. Okay, so these are the 5 attacks under which we can put all your attacks: passive, active, closing, insider, and distribution. Now comes your framework. Okay, again, lot of frameworks are out there over the internet, but there are few frameworks which we should know. Okay, and one of them is your CEH hacking methodology or your CEH hacking framework, which is given by your EC Council. So as we discussed on day one and yesterday also, that thing is divided into 5 stages.
सर क्लोजिंग अटैक में सेम नेटवर्क में होना जरूरी है, डिफरेंट नेटवर्क में होकर भी हम कर सकते हैं?
क्लोजिंग अटैक में जो भी टारगेट है उसकी क्लोज होना जरूरी है।
ओके, नेटवर्क से डिफरेंट हो?
नेटवर्क चाहे डिफरेंट हो, अगर मेरा अटैक कोई सर्वर है तो उस सर्वर के पास होगा तो आई वो अटैक क्लोज इन अटैक होगा।
ठीक है सर, ठीक है।
CEH hacking methodology. This thing is divided into 5 stages. First is information gathering, which is also called as footprinting, when I'm gathering information around a network. After gathering the information, your scanning phase, where I try to figure out info around the system, open ports, what services are running on that ports, what all devices are live in the network, these kind of info. Then third, enumeration, trying to find the loopholes from the info I got on your stage number 2. So for example, if I got to know that on port 22 open SSH is running, so I will try to find whether any loophole is present around that particular service or not. Okay, is there any credentials which I can get to get access to that particular service over your port 22? So these all things are part of your enumeration. So in enumeration, I can also add your vulnerability analysis, finding vulnerabilities and analyzing them. So once I figure out the loophole, next part is taking advantage of that, your exploitation, system hacking. Okay, so in system hacking, lot of things I can do. First will be to gain the access of the system. Now the system access can be gained by multiple ways. Again, I can crack the password and then get into the system. If a vulnerability is present, I can exploit that thing and get into the system. I can plant a malware uh, around the user, and then through that user, I can get into the system. So multiple ways through which we can gain the access. So once I have the access of the system, I will try to get more privileges around that system. So that thing is called as privilege escalation. Okay. Then we can try to maintain our foothold. Maintaining your access. Okay. Hiding your tracks, these kind of stuff. And multiple more things we can do inside a system based on the objective that we have. So once I'm into the system, last part is achieving the objective and clearing your tracks. Again, a very important thing. So what I can do, I can clear the logs so that it becomes difficult for them to trace me back with the help of your logs. Like this, a lot of things I can do inside the system to remove my digital traces. These are the 5 stages of your hacking, and we proceed with step by step only. So if I'm working on step 1, whatever info I get from step 1, that info only I will use in your step number 2. Whatever info I get from step 2, that will be used in step 3. So I cannot skip any stage, that from 1 I'm directly starting for. This thing will never happen. So always remember, you have to go step by step only. because the info that we are getting from the previous stage, it will be used in your next stage. And that is why your CEH has each and every stage in the form of module, so that we can learn what are different techniques, tools through which we can achieve a particular stage objective. This is your CEH hacking methodology, which we will work on. Another one that is out there is your cyber kill chain methodology. Anyone heard of cyber kill chain methodology? Anyone who knows about this cyber kill chain methodology? Basically, this particular methodology is first created during your World War II. Okay, so this particular methodology was created to understand the tactics and techniques of the opposition by US military. So at that time, there was one organization, Lockheed Martin. Okay, so they were the prime suppliers of weapons to the US military. So they created this particular methodology, which helped the military to understand the tactics and techniques of your opposition. Now, after few years, right, recently in your 2000s, the organization started creating the products related to your security around your IT. So they started using this particular methodology in your IT also. So the goal of this particular methodology is to identify how someone can attack me. What are the stages in which a attacker can attack you? So once I know that what stages someone can attack me, it becomes easy for me as a user to implement security, because if I know that someone can attack me in 5 stages, so I will add protection at each and every stage, so it becomes very difficult for the attacker to get to me. So here we can define your cyber kill chain methodology as a methodology which is created for the identification of malicious intrusion activities around the organization, and not just the identification but also the prevention. So identification and prevention of your malicious intrusion activities is what your cyber kill chain methodology is all about. So it directly helps me provide insight into your attack phases, right? The stages of the attack, which will help me understand the techniques, the tactics attacker can use over my organization. So this thing is created into 7 stages. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, and 7. This thing is divided into your 7 stages. So for example, this is the attacker This is some user. I told you attack is all about a motive, a loophole, and a method. So if I want to attack this user, I should have a motive. So let's say my motive is to delete file present in D drive. Okay, in let's say ABC folder. The motive of the attacker is to delete the files present in the D drive, and in your D drive you have ABC folder which contains that particular file. This is your motive of your attack. So first step of your methodology is reconnaissance. The very first step is reconnaissance, your information gathering. Which means gathering information about the target to find the weak points of the target. Okay, so let's say from the phase number 1, information gathering, I got to know email address of your user. Okay, I got to know the email address of the user. Second thing is weaponization. Step number 2 is weaponization. Weaponization means creating a weapon which I can use on the target based on the intel I have from step number 1. So here, since I have an email, what I can do, I can think of phishing attack. So I will stage number 2. I will create a payload. Okay. And exploit which will give me backdoor access. Okay, I will create a payload and exploit to get myself a backdoor access on the machine. This is my weapon. So for backdoor, I can use a Trojan, okay, and payload on the basis of that, I can create that thing. Step number 2, weapon is created. Now, if my weapon is created, step number 3, I have to deliver that weapon. So step number 3, delivery. Sending your weapon to your target. So since in step number 1, I got the email, so I can do phishing attack. I can do your phishing attack. If I don't want to do phishing attack, I can use a USB, right, or any other uh, drive to send my weapon to the target user machine. So I can also do social engineering other than phishing. If I don't want to do phishing, I can do your social engineering also to somehow convince the user to open the USB drive on his system. So that is also one of the method. Now step number 4 is, since my weapon has been delivered, now I want that my weapon gets executed over the target. So step number 4, exploitation. Okay, exploitation means taking advantage over the loophole, exploiting the vulnerability over the victim system. So what will happen in my case, the attacker case? The payload that I created, payload will establish on your user device. Payload establishes itself on target as startup program. Okay, the payload will establish itself on my target machine as a startup program. And with the help of payload, I will download the exploit, the backdoor malware, your Trojan, to the user. Okay, and download your exploit from internet. That is your step number 4. This is the job of your payload. Your stage number 4, exploitation. So once payload is present on the user machine and it has downloaded exploit from the internet, the next part is installation. Okay, installation means installing your exploit, your malware for your backdoor access on your target system. So in step number 5, payload installs your exploit malware. So example, we can take Trojan horse. That is your step number 5, installation. So now my malware is installed on the target, and the job of your malware was to give backdoor access. So step number C, with the help of backdoor access, I will establish a CNC connection, command and control connection, between my machine and the user machine. So step number 6, command and control. With the help of this Trojan horse, I will establish CNC. So Trojan horse establishes CNC. And once I have the CNC connection around the machine, step number 7, achieving the objective. Action on objectives. So what my goal was to delete the file present in D drive in your ABC folder. So step number 7, delete file present in ABC folder and your D drive. This is your cyber kill chain methodology. So this methodology is explaining us how attacker can start attack you. Okay, now here you can see in the example, I'm using different methods, different techniques. Similarly, based on the objective, based on the information that I got from stage number one, I will have different technique. I will have different tactic to reach to the objective. But the chain will be this only: recognition, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, CNC, and last action on objectives. And as a security person, what I can do, I can add the proper security implementation at each and every stage to create a robust security environment around my target system. This is your cyber kill chain methodology created by your Lockheed Martin. Okay, so I will give you 2 minutes. Analyze this particular picture, look at the example and see how this thing is working. And after that, if you have any questions, you can ask related to this.
Sir, one question.
Mm-hmm.
So, when the first two steps are done, after that, when we are doing phishing attack or social engineering,
Mm-hmm.
in that step, user will take some actions, right? After that, only we will move further. Without
Yeah.
users' action, it won't proceed, right?
Yeah, because my objective here is to delete the file which is present on the user machine. So
Okay,
until and
so
unless user get into my trap, it will be not possible for me to add the payload into his machine. And
for example,
other option is if I hijack his system and then add the malware. Then instead of adding the malware, I can directly delete the file. That is your other option.
okay, great. So when we are like doing this phishing attack, if the users click that link, then only that is possible.
Yeah. When he will click on that link, with the help of that, I will download the malwares on a system.
Great, thank you.
This is your cyber kill chain methodology.
So one question, sorry to interrupt.
Hmm.
So in this case, when you say like what vulnerability did we use?
I
So
never use any vulnerability. I created a payload whose job was to get itself as a startup program, and whenever the system starts, download a malware from the internet.
okay, so in this case, no vulnerability was used.
No.
Only okay, great.
The next one that we have is your MITRE attack framework. Again, MITRE is an organization which deals in security products and security solutions. So they have a framework called attack framework. So basically this is your database which contains tactics and techniques of different adversary based on the real world scenarios. So whatever attackers, the real-time attackers have achieved, whatever methods, whatever tools, whatever techniques they have used in real time over a target, this database contains that particular information. So with the help of this particular framework, I can build a foundation related to the threat model around my organization. And as a beginner, I can try to understand that how attackers think by understanding the tactics and techniques used by your attacker in real time. So it not only helps me to build a primary threat model for my organization, but as a beginner, it also helps me to understand the mindset of the attacker. So before that, I'm talking about tactics and techniques a lot. So let's understand what these things are. Tactics, techniques. Tactic means a guideline which will describe you how a attacker will attack. Okay, a guideline that will tell you how a attacker will attack, how the attacker will perform the attack. So for example, here we have seen this 7-stage methodology. These all are your tactics, because when I read this thing, I'm getting to know how someone can perform an attack. What are the steps? What are the stages in which someone can attack me? So these things are your tactics. These things are your tactics. Now, to achieve this particular phase or your tactic, I need some methods. Okay, I need some tools. These things are called your techniques. Okay, so techniques are the technical methods that is used by the attacker to achieve a particular tactic, to achieve a particular result during your attack. So each and every tactic will have certain techniques. So we can say technique is a byproduct of a tactic. Okay, I have a tactic. Technique is the byproduct of that particular thing. So your MITRE framework also contains or also talks about this particular thing only. There will be different platforms, right? You have your Windows, Mac OS, Linux, then mobile, cloud, okay, your AD. So attackers have performed attack on each and every platform. So what MITRE attack has, this has a database for tactics and your techniques. Use that each and every platform by a real-time attacker. Okay, and plus with this, we also have mitigations. Plus with this, we also have mitigation. Because the data is from real world. So if someone has attacked, someone might have applied some mitigation to that also, so that in future no one can attack in similar manner. So we will also have mitigations, and plus the source from which we got this particular info. Okay. Now I told you if more than 3 or 4 people are doing similar attack on similar target, that is your APT. So this particular database also have information related to the APTs, which are present around the real world. So again, a very good platform if I want to understand how someone can attack a Windows environment. What are the stages in which someone can attack? How I can achieve that stage? What methods I can use to achieve that particular step? So as a beginner, this framework really helps me a lot by getting to understand the tools that are out there to achieve a particular tactic. So let's open the framework. I'm sharing the link. Okay, so at the top you can see attack version 14 has been released. I can open the blog post and release notes. That is your latest version. Matrices, enterprise, mobile, ICS and SCADA systems. In your enterprise, you will have your Windows, Mac OS, Linux, these kind of platforms which are used in your enterprise environment. In your mobile, your Android and your iOS, okay, and ICS, your special systems used for a specific service only. Then we have tactics based on your enterprise mobile ICS, techniques, defenses, mitigations, what are the source of the data, what are the assets, cyber threat intelligence, CTI. So we have the groups, your attacker groups, where you will have your APTs, your attacker campaigns, and the softwares used by your attackers. Then we have few resources if you want to update it, these kind of stuff, benefactors and all. I also have a search option. So if I want to search for a particular software or a particular utility around this particular database, to understand where I can use that thing, at what particular tactic I can use that thing, we can search it. For example, we know that ipconfig is used to get system network configuration. Okay, if I want to get a system network info, I have ipconfig for your Windows. So I can type this utility and it will give me the information. For example, ipconfig. So here you can see it is a software also, it is a technique also. It is used by this group Z0102 also. It is used by the group Z0006 also. So all the results related to ipconfig, I can get it in the search bar. So first, let's understand the tactics. For example, if I open the enterprise, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Cloud, Azure ADs, Software as a Service, Infra as a Service, Google Workspace, Office 365, network and containers. So if I look for Windows, because I want to understand how someone can attack a Windows machine, I can see all the tactics: initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion. So tactics, enterprise, there are 14 tactics. It means 14 stages in which someone can attack me. Each stage has a ID. Okay, each stage has a ID. So first step is reconnaissance, which means to gather information which can be used for further information, your future operations. Then resource development, initial access, persistence, defense evasion. The description is present over here. Very simple description. If I want to understand how I can achieve reconnaissance, Okay, what will be the methods, the tools through which I can achieve this thing? Open this thing, you will get all the techniques. All the techniques created to your reconnaissance. Active scanning, gathering victim host info, credentials, email addresses, employee names. All the methods are present over here. So if I want to learn about credentials, click on it. I got a good description of that. I got the examples, how I can achieve that thing using tools and all. What will be the mitigation of this? And these are the reference links. Okay. If I look at the mitigations, again, same thing. Here, I'm getting the mitigation. If I look at the groups, these are your APTs and your hacker groups. For example, if I want to understand what this hexene group does, open this thing. Hexane is a cyber espionage threat group that targets oil and gas, telecommunication, aviation, and internet service providers organization since at least 2017. What is the target location companies? Middle East, Africa, Israel, Saudi, Morocco, Tunisia. What are the techniques used by this particular group? Any association with other groups? What are the softwares used by this particular group? What type of info I can get from this particular software? All the info is present over here. So I can try to understand the mindset of that particular group. So I'm giving you 15 minutes. I think that is more than enough. Go through this particular framework, read about the tactics, look at the description, see what tactic will do, what type of stuff. Open this thing, look at the techniques, read about some of the techniques, look at the groups, try to read that what group is doing what kind of activity, what techniques are used by that particular group. Okay, serve through this framework because as a beginner, this thing will help you a lot. Because for example, if I give you a machine which is a Linux environment machine, so you can come to this framework, you can look at the tactic, your tactics and techniques, and with the help of that, you can solve that machine. You can get into that machine and you can achieve your objective, whatever the flag is. Okay, so 15 minutes you guys have to work around with this framework.
So,
Mm-hmm.
a quick question.
Hmm.
Everywhere I'm seeing ICS, like this is related to the Google Calendar or the calendar extension that we import, right? ICS.
That
Or
is your extension for your calendars.
and what is this ICS? I'm not sure. So must
Where?
ICS tactics and techniques also it is written ICS. Metrics also ICS.
On which? Okay, here.
Yes, enterprise mobile and ICS. So what is
ICS
ICS?
is your OT technology,
Oh, okay.
industrial control system.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any questions related to a MITRE?
I just wanted to know. Hello.
Yeah, Arvind.
Yeah, I just wanted to know like this particular framework is showing us like how the attackers are using which tactics and techniques. Like
Mm-hmm.
by using these techniques, they are getting to the systems and like hack it or like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what about the CTI? Could you just elaborate more about it?
CTI is your threat intelligence. That how you can create intelligence based on the info present over here, and you can use that intelligence to detect similar kind of attacks around your organization.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay, so let me add a task for your MITRE. Hmm, one task already present. One more, let's add. I will write certain commands over here, and your job will be to find tactics and techniques used with that particular command or utility. This is what your job will be. Get tactics and techniques for following commands. Okay, these are the commands. So do one thing, create a txt file. In that txt file, for a particular command, for example, ipconfig/all, get the tactic id, technique id. Similarly for ARP space -a, get the tactic id and technique id. So I'm writing id. ID and name. Okay, because for each and every tactic, for example, persistence, for manipulation, the ID is T1098, and subtechnique, this tactic is privilege escalation persistence. So persistence, the ID is TA0003. Okay, so you have to get this particular info. I will share this thing on WhatsApp. Okay,
Okay.
so that everyone can read about that. What's the just a sec. Arun, what's the second one? Who is the hacker of your second attack?
I'm sorry I couldn't fill it completely, but maybe in my next update I will be mentioning it.
Okay, mention that thing, and once you complete this, share it over
Yeah,
WhatsApp.
I believe it was a Russian group, so that was doing
So that group might have a number, APT number. So if you find the
it.
APT number of that group, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this will be your task number 2. Find the tactic and technique ID and name for these commands. Create a TXT file and drop it over WhatsApp. Okay, so for today, this will be all. If you guys have any questions related to the topics that were discussed, you guys can ask. Yeah, you have to share it on WhatsApp group. Any questions? Okay then. Bye bye guys. Good night. See you tomorrow.
Bye everyone. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.